When you look at like there obviously lots of retail, lots of companies have been really hard hit here. When this all started going down, the gym I belong to, which is it's called Orange Theory, we got a notification saying that they laid off 80% of their workforce, literally like into week 1.5 into this pandemic. So a lot of industries getting hurt. How has it? How is there? How is it being a managed service provider actually helped some of these companies? I know there's some examples out there that we talked about during when we were prepping for this call, where being an MSSP really helped them in this environment.
Yeah, hospitality, retail, however you want to throw it all together. But man, they've been ravaged with this right now. And you certainly feel for those businesses and for those people, because it's not like they lost a job and then all of a sudden they can turn around and go find another one. I mean, people are just flat out of work. I mean, there's over 1 million people in Ohio that have, applied for unemployment right now. But where it has helped businesses like that is they necessarily didn't have an IT staff that was doing what we were doing at the point in time. So they just picked up the phone and called us and said, hey, we have 100 locations right now. We're turning this down to carry out only, and it's going to be 21 locations. We need to turn down services on 79 locations. Well, they didn't have to lay anybody off or go furlough an IT staff. Unfortunately, they did call us and pause and discontinue service, however you want to look at it, and we take that hit. But for them, very dynamic in nature that they were able to turn that down, not have to worry about paying that bill now. But then, a couple of weeks later, they'll come back and say, well, we're killing it with takeout, so we're going to turn these 7 locations back online now, so can you turn them back up for us? So we literally just go turn some knobs and flip some switches, and they're back up and running. They have full security, wireless, everything's good. So for them, it's the ability to be super agile by using us or any other MSSP. It pays huge dividends for them right now, rather than having this heavy overhead and burden of having that staff that they had to let go of, but now maybe they want to do more carry out. So maybe they got to try to bring these employees back. Maybe that's still too much overhead. So by using and outsourcing some of that, it helps them greatly.
Right now, everybody listening and everybody that sees this afterwards is going to think MSSP, turning knobs, flipping switches.
Yeah,
that's going to be, that's what you guys do.
I really dumbed that down a lot, but it is pretty easy for us to bring people back online like that, specifically if we kind of have a game plan and we know that that's what they're going to do and they're not just going away as a business. We can really put them on pause. So it does make it like flipping switches and turning knobs.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's the difference in, it's having, paying for the infrastructure and having systems in place that do all these things obviously makes a huge difference.
Right. Yeah.
I guess on that note, while obviously a lot of industries have been devastated, there are still industries that are growing and still requiring services, and specifically on-site services, right? So, professional services or needing to implement hardware, software on site. How do you handle that now? Like, I mean, how do businesses handle that in a world where, social distancing and you have to be careful? Like, what are you guys doing? How are you approaching that?
Yeah, really good question. So for us, we've been lucky so far. We haven't had to go on site. We made a determination pretty early on that if we could not go on site, we would not go on site. We would not ask an employee to go on site if they did not feel comfortable. We've had some, employees that have raised their hand and said, hey, if I need to go on site, or we have customers that need somebody to be there for them, I'm more than happy to go. But we ask that our customers take the appropriate precautions at that time as well. But for us, we're a 90 to 95% remote workforce anyways when it comes to interacting with our customers. So we've had to get creative with some of our engagements with customers, because many of them actually that had engagements for us to be there no longer want us there. Not that they don't like us, but because of everything that's going on, they're kind of wanting to make sure they keep the social distancing and interaction to a minimum. So now we're getting very creative with how we're, delivering services to them, which was supposed to be on site, but doing it remotely now. But also This helps them a lot too, because a lot of people are starving for revenue or not wanting to have to pay bills. So we're able to reduce the cost of that installation or that project for them, because I don't have to send somebody on site now. I don't have travel and expense. I don't have that body there. You know, the person sitting in their pajamas at home doing the installation for the customer. Now that might mean that the customer themselves has to do a little bit more of the manual, touch for us, plugging things in, telling us what lights look like, statuses, different things like that. But we've been able to pull it off so far. For peers that I do know of that have still had to go on site, they're practicing social distancing. They're making sure that they're taking hand sanitizer with them. Some are wearing masks, some are wearing gloves. A lot of times it goes on what the person wants and or what the business is requesting at that time too.
So let me ask you more, I guess, a global question around the trend for MSSPs, and then maybe the trend for what businesses, who they select when they want to choose outsourcing. You guys, you mentioned you're 90% remote, do a lot of your work remote. Do you think that the trend will be that MSSPs in general will move away from doing on-site work? And I guess the second part of that is will businesses look to MSSPs that are have expertise in being remote like you guys versus somebody who, 50%, 80% of the work is all on site?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I believe that the next couple months that you're going to see a lot of people reach out for known MSSPs or MSPs that can do work remotely. Some of that is just from a comfort level. They're not going to want people on site that maybe they haven't been around. I mean, there's just a lot of uncertainty about what's going on today. And everybody's dealing with it differently, but also a lot of businesses are just looking for cost savings. And if you can save a business $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 by saying, hey, I can do something remote, compared to me sending somebody on site and spending X amount of days, plus you've got travel, they're going to look to do things more remote. I feel like once businesses get more accustomed to and used to and believe that people can do things remotely, that they'll start to lean that way. But there's always going to be the necessity to have people come on site to repair servers, run cable for new internet drops. I mean, that's still going to be there. But from an installation of, let's say, a firewall or installation of new antivirus or wireless or anything like that, if it can be done remote, I think that you're going to see customers start to push towards remote and see what kind of experience they get with that. And I would say, again, my opinion, but as an MSSP or MSP, if you can't deliver services remotely today, you're going to be hurting in the future. You're going to have to find a way to customize your processes and train your engineers, your techs, your support people to be able to pull this off remotely, because if you can't do that today, you're going to have to go do it tomorrow. People are going to demand it of you.
So let's start looking a little bit forward here. I mean, it's clear that that a lot of people, or a lot of us, were caught flat-footed in here, and just kind of want to understand what are some of the lessons that we've learned from this experience. If you could share some kind of, I mean, obviously you can't share specific customers, so specific use cases that you guys ran into, and what have we learned from that for a go-forward strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I think. Well, first and foremost, what I've told a lot of people is there was no class they taught anybody in school. There is no online course that was going to get any of us through this. I mean, many people have disaster recovery plans and good ones. I actually, I've got my Cerdant disaster recovery plan right here. It's at all times. We have a hard copy, but nobody taught us how to get through this, so we're dealing with it and managing it the best way we can right now. I do believe, though, that businesses are going to take the idea and the thought of being prepared for anything more seriously now. Just with the disaster recovery plan, I think a lot of times people look at those as it's something that everybody tells you that you need, but you'll never use. Well, guess what? A lot of businesses really need it right now, and they don't have one, so they don't know what to do. And I would say that there's probably some percentage of businesses that have gone out of business because they didn't have a plan in place. My recommendation to people is, and how we do it at Cerdant, is we're uber prepared with that stuff. We took the time many years ago to build out a plan, but now we review that plan quarterly. We practice it, once a year. We actually enact it once a year, so we know how it actually works for us. But businesses, it's so dynamic that it's not something that you can create today and then not use or pull out for 3 or 4 years because nothing's happened. When you pull that out, you're going to go look at it. It's not even going to compare to what your business was 3 or 4 years ago. It's probably going to be 50% unusable. So it's something that you need to make sure that you're looking at on a probably quarterly basis. I mean, that's what we do. At minimum, biannually, you need to be looking at it. But from a leadership role, I think that we all need to take it a lot more seriously, that it definitely can happen. And I think we will be better prepared just for going through this, because if we can get through something like this as a business, or leaders or managers or employees, I'm certain that we can get through anything.